Hey everybody, and welcome into your Power Standards 18, 19, and 20 examples. First example I have up on the screen here from Power Standards Quiz 18, where we have to write an equation of the line that passes through the point -1, -1 with a slope of 5. And in all these examples, what you are asked to do is to write this equation in slope-intercept form, and slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept, and then x and y are all of the points that lie on the line. And here we're given a point that is on the line, -1, -1, and the slope of the line that we have to write the equation for. So given this information that the slope is 5, I can install 5 in for m because I know that 5 is a slope because I am told that 5 is a slope. So we're already halfway there. We just have to find our y-intercept d now to write this equation. How are we going to do that? We're going to use this point -1, -1. This is one point that lies on the line. There's a ton of points, infinite points that lie on the line. This is one of them, -1, -1. So we're going to take this point and plug it into the x and the y values because this is an x value, this is a y value. So what I'm going to do is plug those values in. Instead of writing y, I'm going to write -1 because y is -1. Instead of writing x, I'm going to write -1 because x is -1. Now if I have this equation here, I can solve for b because there's only one variable that I don't know the value for. Just kind of do the math that we see here. I see 5 times -1, and 5 times -1 is -5. So now I have this equation that says -1 equals -5 plus b. And if I'm going to solve this equation for b, I'm going to add 5 to both sides. And by adding 5 to both sides, I get b equals 4. This is our y-intercept. This is the y-intercept of the line that goes through this point and has this slope. And now I have all the information I need to write this equation because I have the slope that was told to us at the beginning. I found the y-intercept from the information given to us. So our equation then would be y equals 5x plus 4. 5 is the slope, 4 is the y-intercept. 5 is the slope because we are told that. 4 is the y-intercept because we found that given the information. So this would be the equation of the line that passes through the point -1, -1 with a slope of 5. And if you plug in -1, -1 in for x and y here, you'll get a statement that is true. You'll get something equals something else. -1 equals -1 in this case. Next example from Power Standards Quiz 19, we're writing an equation in slope-intercept form. This is something we did earlier this year. Now we're just asking the same exact question in a different way. We're asking to write it in slope-intercept form. So we're solving for y essentially. Slope-intercept form again is y equals mx plus b. So I want to solve for y. I want to get y all by itself on the left-hand side of the equal sign. So here's our equation. We're given 2x plus 5y equals -10. The first thing that I'm going to do to get y by itself is get rid of this 2x. I want this 2x gone. I want it to be 0. If I have 2x's and I want 2x's to go away, I take them away. So as a result of that, we have 5y equals -2x minus 10. Notice the -10 is still on the right-hand side. Now there's a -2x on the right-hand side with the 10. Why? Because I subtracted 2x from both sides. Notice on the left-hand side, the 2x is gone, and it's on the right-hand side now as a -2x because it was subtracted on both sides. This equation here doesn't quite look like our slope-intercept form yet because we want y by itself with a coefficient of 1 and y has a coefficient of 5. So this 5 has to go away. We want the 5 gone. And we're multiplying 5 and y, so what I'm going to do to both sides of the equation now is divide by 5. Because 5y divided by a 5 is just 1y, and that's exactly what we want. Then we come to the right-hand side and I divide the whole -2x minus 10 by 5. So now I have y equals -2x minus 10 divided by 5. Looks kind of like a mess. We can clean this up a little bit so we can see what our slope and y-intercept is. We can divide each of these terms in the numerator by 5. -2x can be divided by 5, and -10 can be divided by 5. When we divide -2x by 5, we just get -2/5 x. 2 divided by 5 is a fraction, or a decimal. So just leave it as a fraction, and our slope is -2/5. 2/5 x. And this -2 right here comes from -10 divided by 5. -10 divided by 5 is a -2. And this is our slope-intercept form of this equation. This equation that we were given and the equation we ended up with are exactly the same line. There's nothing different about them in terms of the line that they form, but the way they are written is differently. If I looked at this equation here and asked you what the slope or the y-intercept was, it would be very hard to see that. But down here, if I ask what the slope and y-intercept is, well, the slope is -2/5 and the y-intercept is 2. So it's a different way to write this equation, or write this line in an equation of a form that we can know things about the line just by looking at the equation. And our last example from Power Standards Quiz 20, we're writing an equation in slope-intercept form for the line passing through these 2 points. And if I want to write the equation in slope-intercept form, once again, that is our y equals mx plus b. I need to know the slope, and I need to know the y-intercept. Notice with this one, we're not given the slope, we're not given the y-intercept, we are given 2 points. But if we are given 2 points, we can find the slope. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to do the difference of the y values, -2 minus -4, divided by -2 minus 2. This right here is how we find the slope of the line containing these 2 points. Doing that subtraction, we get 6. 2 minus -4 is 6. -2 minus 2 is -4. So we have 6 over -4. That can be simplified to -3/2. 6 over 4 can be reduced to 3/2. And it's a negative, so we can put the negative on the outside. So our slope, our m, is -3/2. That's the slope of the line that contains these 2 points. What I can do with this now, much like we did earlier, is take this and install this into our slope-intercept form equation. So this will look like this. Y equals -3/2 x plus b. This equation here and this equation here are exactly the same. The only difference is instead of writing m, I'm writing -3/2. Why? Because I know that -3/2 is the slope, because I found that from the information given. We need to find our y-intercept, much like we did before too. We're going to pick one of these points. Before we had 1 point, now we have 2 points. We just pick one. Just pick a point. I'm going to pick this point here, and I'm going to install that into the equation. So now I have a -4 and a 2, and those come from the point that we were given. The 2 is the x value, so I plug it in for x. The -4 is the y value, so I plug it in for y. And I'm doing this so I can find the value of the y-intercept. If I ask you what the value of b is here, it's very hard, impossible to find that value because we have 2 other variables, x and y. We don't know what those are. But if we know what x and y are, it's much easier to find out what the value of b is. So that's what we're going to do when we plug in the values -4 and 2, because that's a point given to us. So we do the math here. -3/2 times 2. -3/2 times 2 is -6/2. 3 times 2 is 6, and then 2 times the 1, if you want to make 2 into a fraction, is 2. So -6/2. So -4 equals -6/2 plus b. Well, -6 over 2 is equal to -3. So now we have -4 equals -3 plus b. This -3 right here comes from -6/2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Almost there. The last thing we're going to do is add 3 to both sides because we want to solve for b. And if we add 3 to both sides, we get -1 equals b. This is our y-intercept, and the -1 comes from adding 3 to both sides of this equation right here. Now we have everything we need to write this equation in slope-intercept form. We have the slope, it's right here behind these arrows, -3/2. We have the y-intercept, -1. We didn't have those pieces of information at first. We found them with the information we were given about the line. So we install that into our slope-intercept form. Y equals -3/2 x minus 1. -3/2 is our -3/2 is our m, -1 is our b, and then x and y again represent all of the points that are on the line. We're given 2 here, but there are infinite amount of points on the line. So we leave x and y as x and y because that's what makes it an equation for a line. We can plug in any points we want that are on that line, and this equation will be a true statement. So this is our answer and our equation in slope-intercept form for the line passing through the points 2, -4 and -2, 2.